Good evening, everyone. Can I see, just a show of hands, how many people are invested in Innovation Village? Oh, most. I'll go home. So, what I'm going to do is give you an update, and probably a lot of the things you hear from me you've heard before, but more importantly, I want to let you know how things are going with Innovation Village. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in the real estate development industry for 30 years now. Put together many very successful developments. I've been working in Surrey now for about 12 years. Weststone was one of the first corporations to see what was going to happen in Surrey, and we invested very heavily in land, not heavily enough unfortunately, but we acquired many acres in the city centre, saw the potential of Surrey as it was in those days, just having Simon Fraser University opened and SkyTrain servicing the city. So it had all the potential to become a great city in terms of the lower mainland, and as we know now it's growing exponentially. I've been on the Downtown Surrey Business Association now for probably 15 years and served 3 terms as president, and enjoyed that. And I've sat on the Economic Development Committee for Surrey City Centre for about 10 years now, and I've been chair of that committee pretty much all of that time. Weststone has roughly about 4 million square feet of development underway in Surrey City Centre right now. We're pretty diverse in our developments, and we like to be diverse because, as you all know, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's particularly true for the real estate business, because not everyone just wants residential market housing. Down on Scott Road, we're building 650 custom rental units in 4 phases. It's well underway now. As you may know, down in Bridgeview, the land is very, very soft. We've been piling for 9 months now. We've just finished our piling, and we'll be floating a 4-acre slab on top of the piles. So, very big construction project. On top of the slab, we'll build 4 phases of rental buildings right adjacent to Scott Road's SkyTrain station. On City Parkway, as some of you can see, there is a tower there. At the old Stardust roller rink site, we're going to be building a 53-story tower, which is going to be an educational tower. In the podium of the tower will be independent colleges, and there will be roughly 48 stories of custom student accommodation, some of which will be a boutique hotel as well. So most likely the top 12 floors will become a boutique hotel, and the remainder will be for students. And all of those entities will have separate entrances, so they don't clash, and it's immediately adjacent to the SkyTrain station. Down on to the west here, we have a 9-acre parcel of land, which is West Village. We're building 6 high-rises there. 2 are up, 1 is occupied, 1 is about to be occupied, and there's 4 more to go. We have 2 low-rises, some townhomes, and a nice little commercial mix in there. Down on 96th Avenue by the hospital, we have another dedicated rental building, 147 units, which is going to be occupied in October. And believe it or not, we haven't advertised yet, and we've had 2,000 applicants already to occupy that building. That just goes to show what the market is like in Surrey. I guess we can be picky with the tenants. We're trying to keep ownership of it ourselves, so it's in a great location by the hospital, but it just shows how investment in real estate right now is particularly good. Then down at across the road, actually, from that development, we have Innovation Village, which is a 5-acre development, which some of you know probably all about, which I'll take you on in a minute. But it's a 5-acre development that will become a community of care, looking after seniors at all 3 levels: seniors independent living, assisted living, and complex care. And then there will be about 400 about 400,000 square feet of medical use building as well. So Surrey is kind of distinct in the way it's organized in terms of development. To the north, just starting at Holland Park, is University District, and that's very aptly named because we have Simon Fraser University, Quantum Polytechnic University, many independent colleges, and we're building our building in there, which will contribute to probably another 21 independent colleges anchored by Rockshore. To the south, we have the Health and Technology District, which has just been named that. It works with the Surrey Health Campus. Innovation Village, where the yellow star is, will become part of not only the Health and Technology District, it will become part of Innovation Boulevard, which is the Health and Technology initiative started a few years ago by Mayor Diane Watts. So it's a great area to build anything in because there's very little land left, and what land there is mostly dedicated to medical use. The Surrey Health Campus alone has 6,000 employees, so it's a huge base for anything involving investment. Is that the end? Okay, yeah, that's just a press release regarding what's happened in Surrey. What's happened in Surrey is actually pretty dramatic. I think there's some slides in a minute showing the increase in land values, but I'll tell you more about the sales values. When we started selling our first high-rise in 2007, we were actually selling for $550 a foot. Then something called the recession came along, and 2 towers that were being built by the Jung Group went into bankruptcy, and our tower, which was not yet built, we had to shut down because we had 50% sales. We didn't make our 65 requirement percentage sales for the bank. And the Jung Towers went into receivership. They were bought out by Concord Pacific. And after the recession, roughly 2009, 2010, we all started selling again. And because because Concord had bought Jung out of bankruptcy, they came into the market at $325 a foot, which made mockery of our $550 a foot pre-recession. So we went on the market at around $380 a foot, and sales actually started very slowly. So when you think back, that's only 10 years ago. And let's just take it forward to today, when PCI just launched their last tower, expecting to market their second tower in about 3 or 4 months' time after that. They achieved $850 a foot, sold out in 1 day effectively, and launched their next tower the following week and sold that out at roughly the same price. So an amazing transition of Surrey in 10 years, which goes back to what I said initially. If we'd have known then what we know now, we wouldn't have just purchased about 15 acres of land. We would have tried to purchase 50. But anyway, that's the real estate business for you. One of the other good things that's happening in Surrey is light rail. It's a contentious issue right now with people saying, let's have SkyTrain, let's have light rail. There's a big argument going on. Effectively, the light rail model, in my opinion, works well for the corridors between city centre and Luton and city centre and Guildford. It's a perfect answer because it's on the street and people can step on and off it. And if you've seen the tram systems in Portland or San Francisco with the trolleys, it works very well. It moves a lot of people very quickly, and it doesn't involve going to stations because it's on the street. So from a development point of view, the corridors down 104 and all the way in King George down to Luton, it's going to be a bonus, and anything that's built along those corridors will obviously benefit from light rail. So that's just a plus. Innovation Village, right on the edge of Innovation Village, right here, there's going to be a light rail station. So immediately that has some effect on the development. which I'll talk about in a minute, but it's a very positive effect. When we actually purchased the land in 2015, we weren't overly aware that there would be a light rail station there, so it was not a speculative buy at all. It was just a location buy because the hospital is across the road from it. So it made a natural progression for a medical use to come into that 5 acres. We didn't really know what to do with the land when we purchased it. We just knew it was a good buy and something was going to happen there. We thought of residential, but then we thought again, and residential doesn't really work in that location with a school to the south and a hospital across the road. So the highest and best use that we could think of was putting it into the medical field, and after a lot of consultation and a lot of feasibility study work, we decided that catering to seniors was going to be a popular thing. I'd never really thought about it. But anyway, I had this sort of a dream about it based really on the fact that in 2015 there was a lot of seniors going through a lot of problems with illness. When one person was ill, they were being separated, some even as far as Kelowna when the other party was here. It was a very sad thing, and I thought, why don't we build a village where seniors can live together in an independent living concept, and if one becomes ill, they simply move a couple of 100 feet away into a building that can care for them, and they can stay together. So that's how that concept was born, and it'll accommodate a lot of seniors. There's about 420 units going in there for senior care, as well as an extensive amount of space for other medical use. So it's a very exciting development to be working on. Again, going back to the value of land, when we purchased Innovation Village back in 2015, we actually paid $23 million for it, which calculates out at about $40 a foot buildable. When you look at today, Innovation Village was just recently appraised at $55 million 3 years later, which is at $100 a foot buildable. So anyone who's invested in Innovation Village has done pretty well to date. So some of our other projects up there, City Parkway, is now at $80 a foot buildable. And David, I can't remember what we paid for it. It was $8 million.
For which one?
City Parkway.
Well, at that time it was about 10 million as well.
Was it? But anyway, there's extensive land acquisition prices that have gone rocketing. So very exciting time to be investing in real estate in Surrey. Now the important part, the update. And David put together this great slide, and it says creeks, government, fires and flood equals delays. But at the same time, as many of you in this room will know, fires and floods mean an increase in value quite dramatically. Last year we were faced with severe problems in BC with fires, and then later on floods. And the fires last year actually delayed the creek. They delayed the creek because when we move a creek, which we're doing in Innovation Village, it's very difficult to move a creek firstly, but secondly, we had or have already the approvals from the Department of Fisheries, Department of the Environment, Ministry and Natural Resources, and the City of Surrey Engineering Department. All of those people have approved the move of the creek. We're waiting on planning approval now as the final thing, and planning are reviewing everything prior to us going back to council. So fires and floods, what have we got? Oh, fires, floods and LRT equal benefits to investors, and that's completely true. Had it not been for the fires in British Columbia last summer, we would have moved the creek and we would have missed out on a $20 million lift on the property. So it seems that the way land values are increasing in Surrey, that did us a favour. It didn't do British Columbia a favour because the fires were a horrifying side effect. But leaving that land barren again for 9 months and accruing in value by $20 million is pretty significant. So, so what we're doing now is, when we move the creek, we have to move parameters, which may change things a little on the site. It doesn't change things a lot, but it changes things enough for us to try and squeeze more out of the city. There's no promises here. But because we have a light rail station adjacent to the development, along with light rail comes an advantage called bonus density. When you build anything on a transit station, you get extra density. So Weststone will be trying to get through the city without any promises to anyone to increase the density to one more point FAR. Down at the bottom here it says the area around Surrey Memorial Hospital, emerging as the medical district, will mainly be made up of related technology issues that support the hospital. That also implies that there's a 3.5 FAR. Just to explain an FAR, a floor area ratio is what you use to calculate how much you can build. Currently, Innovation Village is on a 2.5 FAR, which allows us to build 550,000 square feet. According to the city, and according to transit, if we can get one more point on the FAR, it means we can build 720,000 square feet. What does that mean to investors? It means another $20 million at least on the investment. So, being the good developers that we are and liking everyone that invests with us, we're doing our darndest to get that extra point on the FAR so that we can redesign slightly the development and ramp that development up by 200,000 square feet. So that will profit you all in a big way. So that's where we sit right now. Everything's working very well. We're happy. We're building away like crazy in Surrey. We're looking forward to making all of you very happy with our developments. One of the nice things about Weststone is we're very accessible. Our offices are going to be, the new offices are just being built across the road. We're putting up our own city centre office here. The doors are always open. We're always happy to see people. We have our sales centre across the road as well. And I know many investors walk in there and look around, and it's closed right now, but it'll be open in the spring again for our next development. So with that, I just thank you all for investing in our developments, and if anyone has any questions, I'm open to that right now.
Hey Bob, can you explain for everybody, shut up, baby. Can you explain for everybody how a property that basically sits and doesn't do anything can go up in value? How a property like this that hasn't gone anywhere physically can go up in value? Is it because more people? What's caused the values to go up so much around here?
No idea. No, Surrey is a rapidly evolving city, as we all know, and has been said for many years now. Surrey evolves at the rate of 1,000 people a month. Pretty much true. Are those 1,000 people a month capable of buying real estate? Possibly not. That's why we have 2,000 people applying to live in 150 units of rental property. When you look at our high-rise buildings and you see sellouts of 400 units in one day, that's reassuring that the market in Surrey is getting stronger and stronger. When you look at other parts of the Lower Mainland, people tell me Vancouver's not affordable, but hey, when I was young, I didn't have to necessarily live downtown Galway. I traveled to work, and that's why places like Cleverdale exist, so young people can have townhouses that are affordable. They just have to make the effort to travel a bit to get to work. Having said that, Surrey remains relatively affordable in the Lower Mainland. As the pressure comes onto the Lower Mainland, and I don't see any drop in pressure, I don't necessarily support government trying to stop development or stop investment, because having lived in the UK and seen prices in London as they are today, if you want to know what unaffordable is, try buying anything in London. So Vancouver is a very beautiful city. It's a world-class city. Part of that world-class city is it attracts people to it. I think as a population in the Lower Mainland, we're very fortunate to have so many people from so many countries coming to Vancouver, because they're helping us live a lifestyle that we're all enjoying, and they're helping the place grow at a good rate. That's a nice place to live, and it will continue to be for many, many years after I'm gone, especially because Surrey's going to build out into a large metropolitan city, which will have its own character, just as Mississauga has from Toronto. It becomes its own entity. Many people don't want to live downtown Vancouver. They like to live in the suburbs, but Surrey will not be a suburb. It will be a big metro centre, but it will still offer the beautiful beaches in South Surrey, Crescent Beach. It will offer access to Abbotsford Airport, which will become bigger and bigger, just as Gatwick did in London. So, you know, we're building our community south of the Fraser, and I've been a subscriber to that now for a decade at least. And I think Surrey has its own flavour. It's missing a lot at the moment, particularly entertainment in the city centre, particularly things to do in the evening, but all that will change. It's the early days. So people see what's going on in Surrey and they appreciate it. They want to live here. They work out that they can afford to live here. I think things are going to get a little more difficult in the retail market because the government and the banks are making it more difficult for young people to buy. My daughter last month actually went to the bank with $180,000 down and got declined for a mortgage. So that's the way life is today. Well, Dad co-signs, of course, so that was solved. So anyway, that's how life is. You know, it's always difficult when the government makes things sticky for people, but we've lived through it, or at least I have many times in my life. And there's always, on the real estate end, there's always a survival. I never look at real estate in the short term, always in the long term. And both in England and in Canada, it's done me extremely well, and it will continue to do all of you extremely well, because it's the only really way to be secure in life. Did I answer your question? Anyone else have any questions? Yes?
Just when do you approximate shovels in the ground?
Shovels in the ground could be, it's a very difficult question because we have to have a permit to get shovels in the ground here. As fast as we can push the planning department to get, and believe me, this is a difficult time of year to push anyone because nobody's there. As fast as we can push the planning department, we will have bulldozers on that site. We've been talking this week about doing some prep work. Our first thing to do is get our tree cutting permits, get the trees down that have to come down. And when we take trees down today, there's a huge replanting program, so we're not damaging the site. And that creek move is a relatively simple move for us, especially that we have fisheries and environment signed off on it. We don't need them to sign anything up. So we're simply waiting on the people upstairs here to get our permits in place, and then we can make a move. But I'm hopeful that we will have something there shortly.
And shortly means how many months?
Impossible to say. It could be 4 weeks, it could be 3 months, who knows?
Maybe 6 months.
Sorry?
Maybe 6 months.
I hope not. That's gone through the winter. We don't want 6 months.
How about the actual building time? Like,
Building time, it depends how we build it and what it is. As we're trying to get more density, it can be a simpler building. If we reduce the footprint, because it's a very big footprint right now, as you saw, the building is angled. If we reduce the footprint and go higher, it's much easier to build. We've got some options for building as well. If we build it in steel, for example, it'll go up a lot faster than concrete. So we have a lot of options open for us right now. But I would think occupancy is going to be roughly 3 years for that site.
once it gets started, 3 years.
Yeah.
Does that extend the 4.5 years time period that was given initially? Does it extend that, or are you going to maintain 4.5 years?
No, it'd be roughly right, I think. Is that right? I don't remember when we started.
Well, there's options, right? Because
We've got a 3-building proposition here. The little buildings build quicker than the big ones, right?
Oh, because of the wood frames at the back. Yeah, but if we go into concrete or steel, it'll extend it slightly, but it'll be bigger, better, and worth more money.
You had a target for investment of the equity, if I'm not mistaken, it's about $30 million, I think. And that got filled
I
up.
don't know, David has those answers.
Sorry.
Equity investment, 30 million?
Right now, the total investment is right around 30 million. It's about another 5 million yet to raise.
Yeah, Capital Street does all the fundraising, so they have all those answers. I just build things. Yes?
So the last meeting that we came to must have been around February.
Yeah.
And it had, the scope had changed from 3 buildings to 2 buildings, but going higher. So now.
No,
has it
now we
changed?
got to 3 buildings. And
So it's now back to 3 buildings.
yes, because if we get the density,
If we get the density.
it'll be 3 buildings and higher. Yeah.
So you have all the funding in place to start construction, if you get all the approvals tomorrow?
Yeah, construction funding is never an issue. We actually, our last tower evolved. TELUS pension fund came to us to lend us the money. To get a pension fund to come to you is almost unheard of. So we're stone in terms of institutional lenders. We don't use them because other people like to invest in us at better rates. But to get a pension fund to invest in you is extremely difficult. But we met all the check boxes for the big pension funds, and Paycor operates TELUS pension fund. We just recently raised the money for our next tower. I think how much was that? 40. Yeah. Simply, we've got so many large investors wanting to invest in us, particularly from overseas corporations, that it's not a problem at all.
So you guys initially wanted to raise $35 million. We reached about 25 million. And then
I think it's, what is it now, 20?
How much is raised?
How much has been raised so far?
Just shy of 30 million.
is this still open for investment or is it closed?
Yeah, there's about another $5 million available. Warren, the guy in the corner there, will talk to you a bit about that in a minute. But there still is an opportunity to do the best.
But one person called and they said it's closed now.
Oh, really?
What's happened is that every year there's a requirement to do an update of audited financials, and that has just been finished, so we were on pause so that we could get those audited financials completed. That's now been done. So it was basically waiting for the auditor to come back and say this is how the funds have been allocated. So it's still open that way.
All of these funds are under close scrutiny at all times from the Securities Commission. So Capital Street, not Western, but Capital Street, because of its public fund, gets regularly audited. So during the audit periods, we're not allowed to offer the development for sale until they sign off on the offering memorandum. Anyone? That's great.